Hey friends, I am so excited that you are here sewing along with me today. We are going to be sewing up the Gus+Steel Joey pullover. This is one of my all-time favorite pullovers for my little guy. It's just super cute, super easy. The color blocking is awesome. I just love it. I am going to be making my hoodie today out of some Bloop Kitty fabric I got from Zombie Bunny, so definitely check out my review video on this company. They are fantastic and have the cutest designs. But all right, so let's get into it. You are going to need to make sure to cut out a color block top and a color block bottom if you are going to be doing a kangaroo pocket. You're going to need the kangaroo pocket. You're going to need 2 hood pieces that are cut mirror image of each other, and you're also going to need the hood band, the middle piece. And then a back. I just did a solid back, but you do have an option to do a color block back for that as well if you want. You're going to need 2 sleeves, a waistband, a hood band, and these are the pocket bands, and you're also going to need wrist cuffs. Sorry, I forgot to cut them out until later, but you do need those. So let's get started. The first thing we are going to do is we are going to put our hood together. So take one of your hood pieces and you're going to lay it right sides up. And you're going to take your hood band with the wider piece being for the top of the hood. So you can see here, there's a wider piece and then a little bit of a smaller piece. The wider piece goes to the top of the hood. And you are just going to align this up, starting at the front corner of your hood, going all the way around the hood curve. It should line up pretty much 1-to-1. It's just going to look a little weird because it is such a curved piece. But just follow that curve all the way down and pin and clip it until you get to the bottom corner. And then what we are going to do is we are going to sew along that curve with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, just like with all my sew-alongs, I am using my serger, but you can use a regular sewing machine for this as well. Just make sure you use a stretch stitch, a zigzag stitch, or a lightning stitch, just because it's knit and you want your stitch to be able to move with your fabric. Okay, now that we have the middle hood piece attached to one of our hood sides, we just need to attach it to the other. So what we're going to do is lay your other hood piece right sides up, and then just align that middle hood piece the same way we did with the other hood piece. So the wider edge goes towards the top, and then we're just going to line those raw edges up going along the curve, making sure to pin or clip it as you go. You want to make sure, especially with this, that you pin or clip because you don't want it to, your fabric to move on you on this. It can get, sewing on a curve can get a little crazy and your fabric likes to do its own thing. So I just added a few extra clips. Again, it's going to be a 1-to-1. You shouldn't have to stretch this, but because it's a curve, it's going to look a little wonky, but it does work out, I promise. All right, once you have it all pinned, we're going to do the same like we did with the other side and just sew along those raw edges using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So sew along the curve with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so our hood is all put together except for the hood band. And I'm going to jump to a different portion of this just because I do want to top stitch my middle hood piece to my main hood. But I want to also top stitch my pocket bands down at the same time. That way I'm not jumping from machine to machine. So that's why I kind of did a little bit different. I'm prepping all my pieces and then I'll put them all together. So let's work on this pocket. The first thing we need is you'll need your kangaroo pocket and you'll need your pocket bands. You're going to want to fold your pocket bands so that they are wrong sides together, and we are going to have to stretch this band to make it fit. So take one short edge and line it up to the corner of the bottom of your pocket piece, and then take the other short edge and line it up to the corner of your top pocket piece. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to actually stretch that out so I can find kind of the middle of where that pocket band should be on the pocket when it's fully stretched. This helps me just make sure it has a nicer, even stretch. Now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance along that raw edge. So just another little reminder, when sewing this pocket band piece, make sure that you are just stretching the pocket band and not the pocket. Okay, so now that we've got our pocket band put on our one side of our pocket, we're going to add the other. So just like with the other side, we are going to fold the pocket band piece right sides together. And then we're going to take one short end and line it up with the top of the pocket, or the bottom. I just did the top this time. And then the other short end, the folded end, we're going to put to the bottom of the pocket piece, and then just stretch it out so that you can find where it should be in the middle once it's stretched, and place your pin or clip right there. And that again is just going to help make sure the stretch is even, and then sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so our pocket is all prepped and our hood is all prepped minus the band. So what we're going to do now is we are going to top stitch this down. I'm going to top stitch the band so that it is going towards the pocket piece. So the seam should be pointing down towards the pocket piece on both sides. And then I'm going to top stitch this middle hood piece so that the seam is going towards the main hood. So away from the middle hood and towards the main hood on both sides. I am using my cover stitch, and you can see there's my spider to get my stitches, make sure they start right at the beginning of my fabric. If you are not using a cover stitch and you're just top stitching on your regular sewing machine, that's totally fine. Zigzag stitch, lightning stitch, twin needle, whatever you want to do. I would recommend for the hood piece, you can just do one line of top stitching. 2 is better for the hood. For the pocket, 1 would be totally fine. But yeah, it's just top stitch that down. As you can see here, I'm kind of doing it in kind of chain top stitching it. So I'm doing one piece and then doing another piece and then clipping that and putting the next piece above. That way I don't have to restart and stop my stitches every time. With the cover stitch machine, it can be kind of picky about starting stitches right on your fabric. So having those few leading stitches first really helps with that. So now that we've got everything all top stitched, looking really nice, I'm so excited about this. It looks great. We are going to now add the hood band to our hood. What we do with this is we're going to take the hood band, and just like with the pocket bands, we are going to fold it so that wrong sides are together. And then what we need to do is, it kind of helps if you do clip the folds together, or if you want, you can press it. That helps hold the folds in line as well. So just go ahead and clip or pin your hood in half, your hood band piece in half. And now we need to find the middle of this hood band piece. So we're going to just fold it right in half, put those 2 short edges together, and where it's folded in the middle there, that is going to be our middle of our hood band. So that'll be at the very top of our hood. So now that we found the middle of the hood band, let's find the middle of the hood. So same thing, just fold your hood in half, lining up those bottom pieces, and your middle hood seams should then also be aligned when you fold it right in half. So clip that, mark it so that you know where it is, and now we're going to just take those middle marks and match them up from the hood to the hood band piece. And then we're just going to go ahead and follow the raw edges, the curve, all the way down. So I do like to do my corners first so that I know this does need a little bit of stretching so that I can kind of get my stretching a little bit more even. Again, just like I did with the pocket piece, I like to stretch the band to find where it should lay when it's stretched out on the hood. So go ahead and do that to both sides of the hood. Again, lining up the short edges of your hood band with the bottom of your hood, and then just kind of stretching that band a little bit so that it's straight and it's even with your hood, and then find where that goes. Again, it helps when you sew, make sure that you're not putting all your stretching at the bottom or the middle. It helps even it out a bit more. So now that we did that, we just need to do a 1/4 inch seam allowance to attach that hood band. All right, hood band attached. Now let's go ahead and top stitch it. So I'm just gonna make sure the seam is towards the hood, not and away from the hood band. And just top stitch right along that edge there. Okay, so now that our hood and pocket are all prepped, we are ready to finally start assembling our hoodie. What we're gonna do is you're gonna take your top color block piece and just lay it right sides up, and then your bottom color block piece and lay that right side up underneath it. I like to do this so that I can make sure that I have the right edges aligned, because it can get a little confusing. So the way that you know the bottom piece is correct is there should be a little cut at the top there, a little diagonal cut. So now what we're going to do is we're going to line up our pocket to the bottom color block piece. So just line up that bottom edge, and then clip at the corner, and then you should be able to just kind of feel where to straighten the fabric out to find where to clip the other corner of the pocket, and then line up that top bit too. Here you can see that my bands didn't go quite all the way to the top of my pockets, which is totally fine. I'll just do a little bit bigger seam allowance on that. But now that that is on, you can baste it. You can totally baste it if you want. I'm not going to. I don't want to. I don't want to go to a machine again. But so with the back and the pocket right sides up, we are going to put the top color block piece right sides together with those two pieces, and just clip along. Make sure you clip where the top pocket is, because you don't want that wiggling on you or moving on you. So go ahead and clip that. And then we are going to sew along that edge there, those raw edges, with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so our front is officially put together. It's super cute. I'm loving this. Okay, now what we need to do though is I'm going to go ahead and top stitch along that edge. I want to make sure my seam is pointing up towards the top color block piece. You can do it the other way. This is just how I prefer it. And we're just going to top stitch right along where that seam is. Oh my goodness, look how cute this is turning out. Okay, now that it's all top stitched, our front is officially ready to be attached to our back. So with your front right side up, you're going to go ahead and take your back piece and lay it right sides together. If you did the color block back, make sure you attach those two pieces first, but I did not. So line up the shoulder seams and go ahead and pin or clip that. And then we are just going to sew along those shoulder seams with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm just going to do both of them at the same time because it seemed silly to just do 1/4, or to do one shoulder and then come back and tell you to do the other. So sew both shoulders with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so the back and the front are officially attached, and I am so excited. I'm loving this so much. All right, so go ahead and open up the front and back piece so that right sides are up. And then we're going to take a sleeve piece. We're going to fold it in half so that we can find the middle of that sleeve. And then we're going to just pin it so that we know exactly where the middle is. And we're going to match up that middle with the shoulder seam. That is going to be our halfway point for our hoodie sleeve. And then just go ahead and take the bottom corner of one side and match it up to the bottom corner of the arm side, and do the same thing with the other side. Go ahead and pin and clip that. And you can pin and clip a few more places if you want to, but I usually just do 3. And then we're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so we have our first sleeve attached. Yay! Now we are going to do the same thing to the other sleeve and get that attached to our hoodie as well. So take your sleeve, fold it in half, right sides together, wrong sides, doesn't really matter. And find that center point of your sleeve, and then lay it right sides together with your arm side, matching up that shoulder seam, and then the corners for the edge and the corner of the arm side. Somebody told me how to say it before and I totally don't remember now. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. We're gonna align that up. Again, it should be about pretty close to a 1-to-1. It's just on that curve, so it looks funny. So 1/4 inch seam allowance. Both sleeves are officially attached, and we are ready to close this guy up and get him ready. All right, so we are going to fold this so that right sides are together. The front is aligned with the back, and then we're just going to take we're going to start at the sleeve, and we're going to pin along this side. So make sure the sleeve corners are lined up, and then make sure your arm seam is lined up as well. And then line up the bottom of your front and back. And then just move that clip over so that you're clipping the pocket piece in there as well. Now, this is a V, and we can sew it like that, but to make it a little easier, we're just going to manipulate our fabric down so that it's a straight line. Now, remember when you do this that you don't stretch or pull your fabric, you're just going to manipulate it. So just kind of turn it to the side so it creates more of a straight line. Now we just need to do the same thing to the other side. So line up the bottom of the sleeves there, pin and clip that. Make sure the arm seams are aligned as well. It can kind of help with the bulk if you have one going one side and like one going down towards the bottom and one going up towards the top of the sleeve. It can just help with the bulk a little bit. You don't have to do it. And then just pin and clip all the way down, making sure especially to get that pocket in there so it's nice and clipped. And just like with the other side, we're just going to manipulate the fabric so it's down so it creates more of a straight line while we sew that 1/4 inch seam allowance. Hey, we're so close to being done. I cannot wait for this. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and turn our hoodie right sides out. And now we are going to get ready to attach our hood. And before we do that, we need to quarter our neckband so that we know exactly where to put the hood. So fold it in half, making sure to line up those shoulder seams. And the fold at the front and the fold at the back are going to be our first quarter points. Really, for this hoodie, the only one that's really important is the back and the front, but I do the sides as well, just so that it helps me know if I need to stretch it or not. So align those front and back quarter points, and that will show you where the side quarter points are. Now with this, it is not the shoulder seam, so do not rely on that shoulder seam. It's not going to be correct. Okay, so now we're going to just quarter our hoodie, or our hood piece, and I do this a little differently. So just fold it in half, and that fold in the back is going to be your back piece. And then how we're going to find the middle is we are going to now overlap those two bands so that they just overlap right on top of each other. And that is going to be, the middle of that is going to be our front quarter piece. And then align those two clips or those 2 points, and the folds of that are going to be your two side quarter pieces. So your third and fourth quarter piece. Now that everything is quartered, we are going to match it up with our neckband, or our neck opening, sorry. So match those quarter points up, the back to the back, the side to the side, and then you're going to actually open up that middle, the front quarter point, so that your hood doesn't get all crazy. But it's okay, trust me. So match up the sides, and then when we get to the front quarter point, just like we did with that first quarter point, or when we quartered it on the hood, we are going to now overlap that band in the middle. So the quarter point will be in the middle of the band, and then just overlap the band so it lays right on top of each other. The band should just be right on top of the other side of the band. All right, so now that it's all quartered, we are going to sew around 1/4 inch around this opening. When you get to the band, make sure that it's kind of sticking up above your seam allowance a little bit. That way you make sure you don't miss that middle point of it. I just love this. Okay, now our hood is attached. We need to prep our wrists, our cuffs. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to check our stretch. So the stretch should go left to right. So fold in half that way, and then you're going to fold it up, your cuff up. And what this is going to do now is you are going to have 4 raw edges on one side, and then 2 folds on another side. It's just one fold folded in half, but make sure when you sew this that you are sewing the 4 raw edges on the opposite side of that 2 folded side, okay? And then go ahead and do the same thing to the band. The reason why I fold and then fold again is so that when I flip my band, I don't have to worry about it moving or realigning. It's just right there for me, just how I love. So again, before sewing, I just want to make sure that I'm sewing the correct side. So the 4 raw edges, and on the opposite side of it should be the 2 folds. Okay, so now that our cuffs are all put together, what we're going to do is we are just going to turn them so that the right sides are out. So now what you should have is you should have a cuff that when you look at it from the outside or the inside, you just see your fabric and not the wrong sides of your fabric. So that's why I love this type of cuff, doing my cuffs this way. It's just, the folds stay really nice. I just like doing it this way. So I don't know, let me know if you like this technique or not. But now that they are folded right sides out, we are going to take one of our sleeves and find the seam, the side seam there. That side seam, we are going to line up with the seam in our cuff. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to put our cuff over the sleeve so that the folded edge goes up towards the shoulder and the raw edges are going to be aligned. And we're going to line up those 2 seams, the cuff seam and the sleeve seam, and just pin or clip it there. And then what I like to do too is just make sure that all the raw edges are aligned and together so that they're not wonky. Otherwise, when you go to sew it, you're gonna miss part of your cuff and it's gonna be so frustrating. So go ahead and do the same thing with the other side. find the two seams, line them up, put your cuff over your sleeve so that the folded edge is up towards the shoulder and the raw edges are together. Line up that seam and then go ahead and pin or clip it and just make sure all the raw edges are aligned and next to each other, not wonky. And then we are going to sew around both of these cuffs using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so now we're just gonna flip those cuffs down and look how cute this is. I'm sorry, I know I keep saying that, but I'm obsessed with this fabric so much. All right, so now that our cuffs are attached, we just need to add our waistband. So first though, we need to prep it. So we are going to, just like our cuffs, fold it in half. I think this is hot hamburger, right? So fold it so that the two short edges are aligned. And then we are going to fold that in half again. So hot dog way, I think it's called. So that the two short edges now are folded together. Now this one, just like with the other side, the way to tell if it's right is you'll have 4 raw edges together. And then on the opposite side of that, you'll have a fold that's folded in half. So it'll look like 2 folds. All right, now we just need to turn our waistband out so that right sides are out. The wrong side should now be encased in that waistband. And we are going to make sure all the raw edges are nice and lined up and not wonky. And then we are going to now 1/4 our waistband, and then we're going to 1/4 our waist so that we can attach our waistband so it's not crazy. All right, so where our seam is, that's going to be our first 1/4 point. And then we're going to fold that 1/4 point down towards the bottom, and where the fold at the top is, that's our second 1/4 point. And then go ahead and attach or align those 2 1/4 points up, and the fold at the top and the bottom of that is now your second and third 1/4 point. Now let's 1/4 the waist of our hoodie. We are going to fold it in half, making sure those side seams are aligned, and the front and the back of that fold is going to be our first and second 1/4 point. Make sure the color block, the raw edge of the color block piece and the raw edge of the pocket are aligned so that that doesn't get crazy. And then we're just going to fold it in half again, and those seams are going to be our third and fourth 1/4 points. So now we're going to match up our 1/4 points on our band to our waist. I like to put the seam on my band aligned with the seam of one of my sides. You can do it in the back, that's totally fine, or however you want it. I just prefer it to be on the side. So go ahead and go all the way around and line those 1/4 points up. The side seams, remember, are your side 1/4 points. And then make sure that the pocket and the raw edge of your color block piece are lined up so that you don't miss one of them when you go to sew this. Now we just need to sew around 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right, here we have it, y'all. The cutest Joey pullover I have ever seen. I just absolutely love this. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you love this pattern as much as I do. See you next time.